We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan's Sunday online service. I'm the Reverend Manish Mishra-Marzetti, serving our community as senior minister. Whether you are physically located in the city of Ann Arbor, elsewhere in the state of Michigan, or our nation, or even elsewhere in the world, we are grateful that you have chosen to join together in community with us for the purposes of spiritual nourishment and reflection. Our community has been meeting continuously in the city of Ann Arbor since 1865, bringing alive the progressive values and vision of Unitarian Universalism. We invite you to join us in that vision. This particular Sunday, we are also excited to extend a very warm welcome to our siblings in faith from the First Unitarian Church of Memphis, Tennessee, also known as the Church of the River, where my colleague and brother, the Reverend Sam Title, serves as senior minister. We are engaging in a 2-Sunday church swap in which the Church of the River community is joining us in our Sunday service this morning, and the Ann Arbor community will join the Church of the River community in their Sunday service on Sunday, May 17th. We are grateful to your community for making this collaboration possible. I'm also very excited to share that we have a special musical guest in our service this Sunday, Tret Fure. Some of you may remember Tret, who joined us in person during the installation weekend about a year ago. She is a leader in women's music circles and also folk music circles. Very talented and skillful. We are blessed to have Tret Fure joining us later in this service as well today. For now, I extend once again a very warm welcome to you and invite you to find a place of centering inside yourself, a place of stillness, as we continue gathering and preparing ourselves for this time together.
Each week, we join with Unitarian Universalists around the world by beginning our time together with the lighting of the chalice. The flaming chalice was a symbol first used by the Unitarian Service Committee during World War II. Members of the committee were doing everything in their power, including risking their own lives, to help those fleeing persecution by the Nazis. Week after week, the chalice reminds us that we too can kindle the flame of love and hope, even in the darkest times. Please join me as we light our chalice. And together let us say our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Another way that we begin our time together and gather in community each week is by saying our covenant together. As Unitarian Universalists, we are not bound together by one single belief, but by our covenants, the promises we make to one another about how we'll be together each week. So whether this is your first time here, or whether you have these words memorized, please join us in saying, "The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another."
This is Cooper. This is Mom. And this is Spot. Spot has been around almost as long as Cooper has. And he's always been a favorite friend. So he's been hugged and squeezed and chewed. And after 7 years, well, he certainly shows signs of all that love. His eyes are worn, his fur is matted, his nose has bite marks, and his whole body has gotten rather floppy. He's more fragile than ever, but Cooper still loves him as much as any of his friends. Last weekend, Mom found some extra stuffing, a needle, and some thread, and they worked together to find the right place to open up one of Spot's seams. It was very tense, as you might expect when one of your favorite friends is involved. As they worked, Mom checked in with Cooper. Is this enough fluff? Too much? Do you want him to be able to stand up? Does he feel comfy when you hug him? Together, they adjusted until Spot was just right, and then Mom stitched him back up. When Spot woke up, he felt amazing, and Cooper was thrilled that his friend could do things he hadn't done in years. The process wasn't short or easy, but Mom knew that Spot mattered very much to Cooper. And this is what it looks like when we care for each and every one of us. The end.
Each month we collect an offering of money. We counted part of our tradition to send that offering out into the community to benefit an organization doing the work of justice and the work of love in the community and around the world. And I often think of the words attributed to the Catholic leader, the sister, the mother, the now saint, the often celebrated Mother Teresa. She was credited with saying, "We are God's hands," a particularly humanistic philosophy on a particularly appropriate day from a particularly humanistic Catholic leader. We are God's hands. The agency is ours. What will we do with the power we have to effect love and justice and freedom in the world? Our partners this time around in our sharing of the collection is Habitat for Humanity. And I can't think of a better exemplar for this philosophy than they. Habitat for Humanity is doing the work it takes to build people up, to offer them the resources and the assistance to make homes of their own. My friends, this is a matter not only of homelessness, houselessness, it's a matter of dignity. It's a matter of pride. It's a matter of the comfort that each and every human deserves to be afforded. The comfort of shelter with our name on them. Today, Church of the River is joining us in this effort, and we thank you very much. We'll all collect an offering to go to Habitat for Humanity, and I ask that you give right now to UUAA.org/sharing the collection. Again, UUAA.org/sharing the collection. Alone, our work can go far, but only so far. But woven together, what's possible among us to change lives and to build up the foundations for people to live into their fullest selves. That becomes wider. That possibility becomes greater. So let's join together now. I invite your giving, and I thank you for your generosity.
This Sunday, our service honors the humanistic traditions to which our congregation in particular is very deeply connected. As we do so, I'd like to share with you a reading that draws on the research and teachings of a famous cultural anthropologist by the name of Margaret Mead. This particular take on her teachings is based on an article that appeared in the March 31st edition of Forbes magazine, authored by Remy Blumenfeld. Blumenfeld writes, years ago, the anthropologist Margaret Mead was asked by a student what she considered to be the first sign of civilization in a culture. The student expected Mead to talk about clay pots, tools for hunting, grinding stones, or perhaps religious artifacts. But no, Mead said that the first evidence of civilization was a 15,000-year-old fractured femur found in an archaeological site. A femur is the longest bone in the body, linking the hip to the knee. In societies without the benefits of modern medicine, it takes about 6 weeks of rest for a fractured femur to heal. This particular bone had been broken and had healed. Mead explained that in the animal kingdom, if you break your leg, you die. You cannot run from danger, you cannot drink or hunt for food. Wounded in this particular way, you become meat for your predators. No creature survives a broken leg long enough for the bone to heal. You are eaten first. A broken femur that has healed is evidence that another person has taken time to stay with the fallen, has bound up the wound, has carried the person to safety, and has tended to them through recovery. A healed femur indicates that someone has helped another human being rather than abandoning them to save their own life. Margaret Mead went on to say, quote, helping someone else through difficulty is where civilization starts. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed persons can change the world, for indeed, that's all who ever have. Thus ends our reading.
I used to be able to thread a needle like this pretty easily. But now it's a bit more challenging and actually quite frustrating. Maybe you've experienced this. It has become something that is just beyond what I can do easily. And that could make me want to just give up or to stop seeing what needs mending. But what if I find a different needle, one that has a space for the thread that's a bit wider? So that the mending becomes a possibility again. This is our work now. To not give up because it's hard, to not stop seeing what needs mending in a world that above all needs so much healing right now. We can find the right needle for our work. Together, we are the threads that will reconnect broken parts, that will restore wholeness, that will heal. As we hold some moments of silence together, imagine the healing you could make happen. May we never forget that we have the means, we have human potential, creative energy, the strength of our community. We have the means to imagine a healed world, a more compassionate world, a more just world. We can make it so. May we pick up our needles and thread and begin in love to mend. May it be so, always, forever, and now.
Minding my own business, chasing demons in my head, while the devil was afoot, feeding off the dead, stripping off the tasty bits, devouring the best. Just a few things I need to get off my chest. 'Cause mindlessly we turn away. The heart is stopped, the skin is cold, as we watch this tragedy unfold. And endlessly we turn our backs, as the screams get louder, the blood turns black. The darkness that we knew was foretold. But we can change it, we can turn it into gold. We can stop the hatred from sickening our souls. We have the means, because love is on our side, always, forever, and now. Given permission for the bullies to misbehave, supporting them with silence, reticence, and shame. It's time to raise our swords, time to show our might, to throw back the curtains and let in the light. 'Cause mindlessly we turn away. The heart is stopped, the skin is cold, as we watch this tragedy unfold. And endlessly we turn our backs, as the screams get louder, the blood turns black. The darkness that we knew was foretold. But we can change it, we can turn it into gold. We can stop the hatred from sickening our souls. We have the means, because love is on our side, always, forever, and now.
We can change it. We can turn it into gold. We can stop the hatred from sickening our soul. We have the means, because love is on our side, always, forever, and now. Thank you, Tret Fure, for this beautiful expression of the needs of our time and the ways in which we human beings can step into that need through our love, through embodying the value of love. It speaks to the very best of human potential, human possibility, and human agency, concepts that are central to understanding humanism. I'd like to invite us into the history of this particular week. It's a history that holds significance for our community here in Ann Arbor in particular. It was in this week in 1933 that the original Humanist Manifesto, an articulation of religious humanism, was published in the Christian Register. But years before that 1933 document, there were thinkers and leaders in our Ann Arbor congregation and at the University of Michigan that were actively having conversations and composing and drafting language to try and come up with exactly this kind of articulation, a statement of spirituality, of ethics that could appeal to the widest swath of human beings that was possible and speak to the deepest inherent potential within each and every one of us, the ability to learn and grow continuously, and as we do so, to be in service to one another and the larger world around us. That 1933 articulation statement I mentioned is referred to as the Humanist Manifesto. We in the Ann Arbor community have our own congregational version of that, a predecessor that was articulated in 1931, known as a reflection of the university mind. It carries many of the same concepts and ideas that were later more formally articulated in the Humanist Manifesto. Our community has a weekly spiritual connections email that goes out on Tuesdays. And in the week ahead, I'm going to include links to the full text of both the 1933 Humanist Manifesto and the 1931 statement that leaders from our congregational community put together. They're worth looking at. I hope that you'll take a look at it. They speak to very deep values that continue to inform Unitarian Universalism in Ann Arbor, but also more broadly, more widely. I often will say that there is no Unitarian Universalism without humanism. We are so deeply grounded in humanistic principles, concepts, and values. And yet, one of the things we know as human beings is that when we take something as foundational, it's also possible to take it for granted. We can take the foundation of our house for granted. We can take the foundation of a solid friendship or relationship for granted. So there's value in periodically visiting the foundations and naming the strengths that lie therein. It's in that spirit that I did a close read of both of these documents this past week, our congregational statement from 1931, as well as the Humanist Manifesto of 1933. And there were certain key phrases and concepts that were almost a consistent overlap between these two documents and articulations. I want to share some of those with you. The one that decidedly popped out at me was the referencing of human experience, of human life experience as centrally informative to ethics and spirituality. The way I often express this, I will say that we Unitarian Universalists do not have a shared scriptural text that we all agree on, but we do have a sacred text, if we want to use that word, that is common among us. And for me, that sacred text is the text of human experience, of life experience. We hold that experience holds hard-won wisdom. Many of us undergo challenges and difficulties of all sorts, and on the other side of it, we arrive at deeper insights into what it means to be human, what the nature of the human condition is, wisdom and learnings that we can share with others around us. Another similarity between these two documents is a reference to continual or continuous learning and growth. Not surprising given that Ann Arbor is a university town and both congregants and educators were intimately involved in the drafting of both of these humanistic statements. Educators professionally committed to the enterprise of lifelong learning and growth. We are continuously learning what it means to be human from our earliest years through to our final. A third similarity between the two statements is the concept of goodness. Goodness, human goodness, as it is realized and actualized. And here I want to connect with the teachings and research of Margaret Mead, a little bit of which we heard about earlier. Margaret Mead saying that it's not the discovery of fire or the invention of tools that are the hallmark of human civilization, but rather our capacity to show up for one another in times of distress and need. That is the hallmark of human civilization. Human goodness brought to life, human goodness actualized and realized. I would notice as well that human goodness gives a direction to lifelong human learning and growth. If we're engaged in an enterprise of continuous learning and growth, to what end? It could simply be self-satisfactory to be learning more and more. But no, the humanistic teachings don't stop with learning and growth as an end to themselves. We engage in learning and growth in service to living into human goodness, bringing alive our very best human potential. Such beautiful concepts and teachings that are really a very strong foundation for Unitarian Universalism in Ann Arbor till this day, and I would say Unitarian Universalism writ large. As I have stepped into these concepts and teachings more deeply this past week, I have found myself wondering, how might we draw on these teachings? What insights might they hold for the times in which we are living? Here I'd like to invite you into kind of a refrain, a phrase that has been coming to me, which I will also both elucidate and help explain a bit. We are the problem and we are the solution. And what I mean by that is it's human beings and human agency that are at the root of many of the societal dilemmas and problems that we are facing. And it is also us human beings and our human agency that can be the solution to those very same problems. Let me illustrate just a brief example, one that will, I think, ring true for most, if not all of us. Think of how deeply interwoven into the fabric of American society the concepts of lack and fear are. The very structures of our capitalistic society telling us at every turn that no matter what we already have or possess, it is somehow insufficient. There's a better car, laptop, cell phone, house, vacation, whatever it may be, there is something out there that is better than what you have already experienced or have today at your disposal. Do not be satisfied with what you have because the consumer nation needs you to spend more out of a desire for bigger and better and different. I know in the past 5 or 6 weeks of living at home, we've been doing quite satisfactorily with a lot of the same. And the same is imperfect. I have shared with many of you, I have to film these sermons that you see in my basement. This is far from perfect, but it's adequate. It's satisfactory. It's sufficient. And our cultural consumeristic messaging is one of constant lack, one of constant insufficiency. Look at what happens with that insufficiency. If what I have today is not enough, and I am somehow being driven culturally by the messages around me to focus on that, how can I bring to bear in fullness compassion for those who may have even less? I can care, I can do something, but if I'm convinced myself that I don't have enough or that what I have is precarious, my ability to step into the needs of another are constrained by the degree to which I have bought into those messages of insufficiency and inadequacy. Side by side with lack, our society roots us in fear, the fear of loss, the fear of insecurity. Whatever we might have today, we may not have it tomorrow. It could be taken away from us, from a government that has overreach, through financial insecurity, economic instability. Whatever we may have may not be ours. So there too, human goodness needs to be constrained, because what we have, whatever comfort it is, may not be ours tomorrow. Fear and lack, intertwined, woven deeply into the fabric of human society, and inextricably, they provide limits and constraints on how we can step into human goodness, so long as we continue listening to the messages of fear and inadequacy. And here, those messages are human constructs to a large degree, insofar as they are structural and societal. Here's where we can also be part of the solution. If they are human constructs that are woven into the fabric of society, we can choose not to believe them. We can choose to construct different. We can choose to construct better. And if not now, in the middle of a global health crisis that invites us to look at every structure that we have bought into and that supports both wellness and unwellness in the society around us, if we don't look at our human shortcomings now, when will we? When will we build better? Now is a moment when we can call into question those human assumptions and undercurrents that have never served us well, don't serve us well today, and will not serve us well tomorrow. Now is a time when we can ground ourselves in a deeper sense of love, a more abiding sense of commitment to our own wellness and the wellness of our neighbors and siblings in faith, our siblings in this nation. We can do better. And I pray and hope in my heart that we start to lay the seeds of that doing better now. If we have been managing okay, without needing more or different or bigger and better, wow, amen to that. Let's take a moment to notice that. Let's take a moment to notice how in the simple desire for good health, all the extra things fall away. We don't even need any of the extra things. In the simple desire for our own good health and the good health of others, we step into our own goodness. Companies delivering food for free, human beings at home sewing personal protective equipment for people to freely take and freely use. Our own congregants in Ann Arbor have been doing that for so many, hundreds of others. There are vast reservoirs of human goodness that are already at play that we can build on and tap into. I bring us back to the words of Tret Fure's musical meditation. We can change it. We can turn it into gold. We can stop the hatred from sickening our souls. We have the means because love is on our side, always, forever, and now. Such is the very best potential of our humanistic traditions that we belong to. I invite you to step into the fullness of those traditions with me. May it be so. Amen.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from creed to king. Love will guide us through the hot night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hot night.
My beloveds, in Ann Arbor, this week joining us from Memphis, others throughout the nation and the world. As you enter this new week, hold true to the goodness that resides within you, that is inherently a part of you, that longs to be brought alive through your human potential. There is much that we human beings have built and constructed that does not serve us well. And yet, as a people of faith, we are committed to higher ideals, ideals that are as grand as the desire to end all human suffering everywhere. Let such a lofty aspiration guide you and hold you in the week to come, knowing that there are many other people of faith, many others here in community with us right now, holding dreams and hopes just as grand, just as true. Go forth in love. Go forth in possibility until we are together again.